Welcome back to Live at 5. Time now for our weekly visit with a professional from Edward Jones. And today we get Gabe Rockers with us. Good afternoon, Gabe. How are you?
I'm doing well, Alan. How are you today?
Doing fine, thanks. Tell you what, lots of stuff going on in the world, locally as well, that has made us all a little uneasy with our finances and certainly for planning for the future. And I've mentioned it with a couple of your colleagues before that sometimes you're as much a psychologist as you are a financial advisor. How do we get through these uneasy times?
Great question. The year has been wrought with a lot of uncertainties and from an emotional perspective, a lot of negatives in terms of how we perceive those and what it does with our money in the markets. First, it was the Fed and interest rates due to inflation, then Russia invading Ukraine, and now maybe that brings about added anxieties of war and potentially higher food or fuel prices, again, tied back into that inflation. So, I think people can sit down and discuss their plan and their goals with an individual that's, like myself, educated and trained to guide you in and through the markets to reach your goals. That can provide some comfort, and like you said, it can help to remove maybe some emotional driven decisions that ultimately, in hindsight, tend to be kind of the wrong moves. And what I mean by that is what we saw in the last few weeks with added fears and anxieties is some people were really selling some pretty darn good investments at some pretty good prices. And that's what tends to happen when we get heightened anxiety, heightened fear, and we feel like we just have to sell it to preserve or to keep from losing any more.
Well, I listen to you all every week, and one thing you all preach so much is the market loves stability. And we certainly have not had as much of that lately.
Yeah, uncertainty is kind of the word of the day for the year, and markets don't tend to perform or grow at a really effective clip when there's that much uncertainty. But I would also encourage investors to keep your eye and your goals as the primary focus. And as long as your goals don't say you need your money now, which if they do, you shouldn't be in the markets anyway, just keep focused on that goal and know that historically markets have been extremely resilient. They've fought through higher inflation or hyperinflationary time periods. They've made it through wartime periods. We've bounced out of recessions historically. So I would expect that to continue to be the case moving forward.
Well, always playing the long game for sure. How can folks reach you or one of your associates at Edward Jones and learn a little bit more?
I appreciate you asking. So anybody can, if we use a phone book anymore, can pull out the phone book. You can go online and look up Edward Jones and any of our local advisors. And then just a simple phone call or a walk-in, and we would be glad to sit down with any potential client and try to understand their circumstances, their needs, and see if a relationship would be of need.
Very good. Gabe Rockers from Edward Jones, always good advice. Thanks for being with us today.
Alan, thank you very much for having me. Hope everybody has a good week.
You bet. All right. Thanks, Gabe.